think it's fair to say that we probably haven't quite seen the £50 million Brazilian playmaker in Lucas Paqueta for West Ham just yet. He hasn't really delivered on that scale. And I'm not having a go at him at all, because I do think it's fair that he's come to a new country, a new city, a new club, teammates, you name it. It's a big transition. And the Premier League is a big step up. We know that. We've seen players that have struggled. I mean, you can look back in history, some of the greatest Premier League players in history that have struggled, early on. Ronaldo, Thierry Henry. It did take a period of time, quite a while, well over a year. So although that you kind of look at Paqueta and we have been looking at him thinking, when are we going to see this, player and playmaker and this influencer come into the fold at West Ham and start really having an impact. In that time, though, I would say that he's actually delivered quite well. I actually think he's worked hard. I mean, that's one thing I'm really impressed about him. He's like, we were talking about it this week, actually, on the West Ham Way podcast with ex-WHU employee on Patreon, was that, if anything, he's kind of delivered in aspects that we didn't expect him to. The hard work, the graft, the getting stuck in. And that's what I've been really impressed with. But we haven't seen that guy that's sort of influencing games. And I just think that he needed that time. There's a feeling, though, that now that his role's shifted, I mean, we can go into that in a minute in terms of David Moyes and the situation with where he's been playing him. That aside, him now playing a deeper role alongside Rice, you really do get that feeling that Paqueta is now starting to shine. He's starting to grow in confidence. You can kind of see that with how he's not only performing, but his body language, the way he seems to be enjoying himself. I mean, I'm looking this week at his interviews. He seems to be very, very happy to be here, very excited. And he's also, you can see there's a bit of confidence about the player. The point of this video really was that I really am starting to believe that we are now about to start seeing the player that we signed, the player that's going to come on and make a big difference, because that is something that could make a huge difference to West Ham going forward. Having that player that can make those big moments in games. Because he hasn't really done that. He hasn't really influenced much of the games as such. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's worked hard. He's played well. And I think that's what's kept him his position in the side. Not only because he's got his price tag, but I think he's showing that actually I can do the work. I'm still willing to do the running and do the hard stuff, which is great. But like Moyes alluded to, we wanted to see someone that could come up with the assists, with the goals and etc. Now, on to David Moyes quickly on that. I actually found it a little bit alarming that he said that he's had to now shift his position because we thought we were getting a number 10. I mean, now we realise getting a different, a more deeper midfield role player, which is a bit concerning, isn't it? When you think West Ham have forked out over £50 million to the player and we didn't really know where to play him. It does ring alarm bells slightly, but I don't want to dwell on that. The fact is, it's clear, and we've all been saying it for quite some time. We've said it on this channel quite a lot. Myself and Riley have talked about it. X and Dave have talked about it on the podcast, on Patreon. And we've all been saying it, that he is better suited to play in a deeper role. And that is what I'm starting to see. We're all starting to see that he clearly is more comfortable in that position. He can influence the game from that position because he's on the ball more. I just get the feeling now that going into the games that we've got coming up, we've got London derbies, we've got some big games coming up. You get the feeling now we're getting that player. We're starting to see the Lucas Paqueta that we signed, which is really, really, really exciting. I love the fact that, I mean, one thing I would say is I don't like his celebrations. Don't get me wrong, I like the fact he enjoys himself, but when he did that flip against Newcastle, I was like, oh my God. I mean, especially when he landed awkwardly. If I was Moyes, I'd be like, just please. Yeah, I don't mind a little bit of dancing. Do a bit of the dancing. Don't do the backflips and all that kind of stuff, please, because you just know, being a West Ham player, well, I'm not West Ham, but being West Ham fans and him being a West Ham player, this is only going to go one way. He'll be in hospital. So no, don't want. That's the only thing I would say as a criticism. But I'm really excited by him. I really like his work rate. I really like his, and you can clearly see he's got ability. I'm excited. I really think this is an exciting time. And funnily enough, I put this up on Twitter that I felt that we're about to now see the player. I actually said it. This is the player we could have on our hands now. Really, something really exciting. And someone said to me, "I get the feeling that could be the same as Scamacca." That's a really good point, because if we can get him in that position as well, obviously he needs to come back from injury. I still think there's a little bit of a way to go with that. I don't think it's too far, but he's not quite there, I believe. from what I've been told and what I've read on Patreon from ex-WHU employee. But that being said, you get the feeling that if he can then get into that realm as well and start influencing games a bit more, and the system starts working for him quite well, we could really have a couple of good players in our hands here, and can make a big, big difference. Because, you know, we're in the second half of the campaign now, and this is time now for the big players to step up. Rice is certainly doing it. We're seeing the other players. Bowen's now coming into his own. Antonio's looking hungry again. Yeah, Ben Rama's been very good all season. You know, if you can get the likes of Paqueta, Skamaka start to raise their games, then, well, you know, who knows? It's an exciting time. But yeah, Lucas Paqueta, very excited. There's nobody better.